welcome to this deep dive where we're cutting straight through centuries of inherited belief to look at the scientific revolution. Our mission today is really to unpack how the entire method for finding truth just flipped in the 17th century. It's a huge shift away from simply accepting what the ancient Greeks had written.
It was a seismic transition. I mean, for thousands of years, knowledge was all about the authority of old books, of natural philosophers. The revolution is that moment we as a society stopped just taking their word for it and started demanding proof. Hard evidence, rigorous reason. We've got sources that really detail the new methods and the often controversial figures who drove this.
Okay, let's break that down. This revolution, it wasn't just one idea. It seems to have been powered by two pretty distinct approaches. The first one being empiricism.
Right. And empiricism basically insisted that all knowledge has to be grounded in what you can observe. Direct observation, experiments. It was a huge change. It was all about self-research, what your own senses tell you. And that created a problem. How do you share all this new data? It meant we had to create new institutions like scientific academies just to keep up.
And the other side of that coin was rationalism. This was more about using pure reason, the mind, to investigate the world. So the rationalists argued that logical thought was everything, and you could find these universal natural laws and describe them with math. Hold on, if they're so focused on pure math, how do they actually test their ideas without, the physical observations of the empiricists?
That is the absolute key to it all. Separately, they both have limits. But when you bring them together, that's when you get the explosion. Thinking and seeing. Experimenting and calculating. That's the basis for modern science. And, it's really important to mention that thinkers needed a place to actually share these ideas safely. The Dutch Republic at the time offered a degree of freedom of conscience, which attracted a lot of these thinkers and let these sometimes heretical ideas flourish.
That context is so important. And actually, speaking of sharing knowledge, if you're learning something new with us today, please just take a quick second to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really does help more people find this deep dive. All right, let's jump into the people. The biggest change first. Flipping the entire universe on its head. For centuries, the geocentric model was standard. The Earth is at the center of everything.
And that brings us straight to Galilei. Galilei, he was a physicist, an astronomer, and he didn't just guess. He built his own, much better telescope. He used evidence like seeing the phases of Venus to prove the heliocentric model was right. The sun was at the center. And of course, his famous conflict with the church made him a kind of martyr for science, with that legendary phrase, "and yet it moves."
And what I find so interesting is that not all the discoveries were, cosmic. You have Antoni van Leeuwenhoek, not an academic at all. He was a merchant, autodidact. But he developed these incredibly powerful lenses, and with them, he discovered a whole new world. Bacteria, red blood cells. It's just a great reminder that anyone with a sharp eye could participate in this revolution.
Exactly. And the person who really ties it all together is Isaac Newton. He perfectly synthesized both empiricism and rationalism. He sees the apple fall, that's the observation, the empiricism, but then he develops the calculus, the rationalism, to provide the mathematical laws that describe why it falls. He didn't just describe what happens. His laws can predict it. It's observation feeding calculation, which allows for prediction. That's modern science.
So what's the big picture here? What does this all mean for society? The world basically changes from this mysterious, unpredictable place to something governed by a mechanical worldview.
Yeah, the core idea because the world is a machine. A machine that God started, but it runs according to natural laws that we as humans can figure out.
God becomes like a clockmaker.
The ultimate clockmaker. That concept is called deism. God sets the universe in perfect motion and then steps back. He doesn't interfere. And the implications were massive. This cemented the foundation for modern science, giving the West a huge advantage down the line.
Right, and if we connect this to what comes next, this whole idea of finding natural laws for the physical world, it eventually spills over into the social world. It directly sparks the Enlightenment.
It does. People starting to think, well, if we can find laws for planets and gravity, why not for society, politics, and human behavior?
And that really leaves you with our final thought for today. If the universe really does operate like a predictable machine based on knowable laws, does that mean that human society, that politics, that even our own behavior can also be broken down into universal, predictable laws? That's something for you to consider.